Hey guys, today I want to talk about the second phase of plumbing during new home construction that is known as the top-out phase. So I was thinking about this as I was about to shoot the video. After 30 plus years in the business, I honestly don't know what the term top-out means, but I'll tell you it's the second phase of plumbing. So with new home construction, plumbers are the only ones that actually have three phases of work. They come in at the beginning. Here in Texas, we do concrete foundations. So we have what's called the rough-in plumbing or the ground plumbing phase, where they are putting basically the drain lines in the foundation before it's poured, as well as there's very little actual water supply in the slab. It's really just where it comes into the house from the meter, and anywhere where we may have something like an island or a floor filler for a freestanding tub where it's kind of out on its own. And I'll go through that stuff here during this video. But what I wanted to do in this video is, if you're out there having a house built or just interested in the process, to kind of explain to you what this second phase of plumbing is, when it happens, what all happens. This is a great time if you're having a house built to be able to come in and actually see how the plumbing works. Helps you know what's behind the walls. Also a great time to take pictures behind the walls to know what's back there if you have to do something later. So to start with, I've got all kinds of plumbing going on behind me, and I'll kind of talk about, I'll start with the drains. So I had just said during the rough plumbing or the ground plumbing phase, they have all the drains put in. All the drains just use gravity. They just have a certain amount of slope, and they all merge together and exit the house at somewhere called the sewer exit. On this house, it's on the side, and this house doesn't have, or the neighborhood doesn't have city sewer, so it'll have a septic system. So all the drains just go out of the house somewhere along the perimeter, and either they go to a city sewer or to a septic system. And then once the slab's poured, all the drains stick up out of the slab so far. The top-out phase, they come in and they start finishing out those drains, as well as things like vent stacks and whatnot. So I'm in the kitchen here, and what we've got is a vent stack behind me. Let me find a drain. I guess I should have started with a drain. Let me go over to a bathroom here. And this is a full bath, half bath in this one. And initially, when you would walk in after it's been framed and the plumbing top out hasn't been done yet, all you're going to see is this little bit of PVC that comes out of the ground. That's the drain that goes down into the slab and runs out of the house. During the top out phase then, what they do is they come in and they start finishing out these drains. By finishing out, they put this piece. This is going to be the actual drain part of the sink. So you know what a P-trap is. It's kind of that lower part that's meant to catch, it's meant to trap sewer gases and also catch things that may go down the drain. So you drop a ring down your drain, it usually gets stuck in the P-trap. So ultimately, a sink will go here, and there will be a P-trap. It'll connect to this right here, and the drain is connected. They also come in at this phase and they're running water lines and all that. I'll talk about that in a second. But the other thing I want to talk about is, well, this PVC pipe keeps going up. What's going on with that? This is what we call a vent stack. So all houses have vent stacks that go up and project out through the roof. They are meant to carry sewer gases up and out, so you aren't getting them through the drains. They're going straight up and out. They also help equalize pressure with the drains themselves. So when you come into a house that's had the plumbing top out done, you'll see all these PVC stacks that just go straight up, and that's what they're doing. They are vent stacks. Okay, so that's pretty much it with drains. Like right here is going to be, let's see if I can see this. This is going to be a toilet. So this is just the toilet drain. They'll come in and ultimately they put a flange in place. Hasn't been done here, but that's where the toilet will go. And then behind me, you are seeing this stuff here. These are the water lines. So the drains are pretty simple. I kind of really went over them at this point. I do want to talk about one thing with drains. So this is a house that was meant to be a one-story, and by meant to be, it had a big attic space that was going to be storage with some stairs that led from the garage to the attic. The homeowner then decided he wanted to turn it into living space, so it's become a finished out bonus room. And then on top of that, add a bathroom up there. Now, the thing about adding a bathroom kind of as an afterthought is generally plumbers would set up what we would call a stack meant for the second floor, basically a drain, where, hey, we know there's going to be a bathroom up there, and so we have a drain in place in one of the walls. Usually I think it has to be a 4-inch drain. And so you just run the plumbing to it and come down, right? That's how all 2-story homes are done. But because we didn't know there was going to be a bathroom up there, there was no drain set aside for it. And the bathroom is back here. Where we thought we needed to run the drain to was way up there in the laundry room, basically the front of the house. The plumber, after looking at everything and calculating it, did not have enough fall because, again, drains are just using gravity. There's just some slope on the drain the whole way to that wall until it drops down and ties into an existing drain, which is what was going to happen. But we determined we couldn't make it. It was too far. We didn't have enough fall. So then what had to happen, and I'll show it here. I'm going to turn the camera around in just a second. There is a hall bath here, and this is some of the stuff that happens in construction. Boom. We had to access a drain that is in the foundation. So, up there is where the new bathroom has been placed. Let me walk through this wall here and show you. That is a second floor drain, or drains, because you've got your shower there, you've got your toilet there, and a drain for the sink over there. They are all tying into this line that is going to turn, come down, and tie into a drain that is down there in the floor. So I have seen a lot of customers over the years get, extremely concerned when a foundation has to be jackhammered or cut. And that's a completely fair thing to be worried about. In the end, it doesn't affect the structural integrity of the foundation. And it's not something we want to do if we don't have to do. Now, oftentimes, plumbers will set their drains during the rough-in stage and they may miss a wall a little bit, something like that. Maybe homeowner even moves something and we have to do that, move some plumbing. Typically, we're not going all the way down to find an existing drain, but that was the case here because of the addition of the new bathroom. So this is some of the things with changes. Just know when you're doing custom homes, sometimes as builders, we have to figure out how we're going to make that work, and it can be a little more invasive than we want. Okay, so now I'm done with drains. Now what I'm going to talk about are the second phase of what they do, not the second phase, but what they do in this phase. They are doing the drains. They are also running the water lines. So in Texas, again, with concrete foundations, we generally, most builders I know are not putting water in the foundations anymore. Some do. I don't. I like to use PEX plumbing, which has really become the industry standard. PEX, P-E-X. It is, let's see if we've got uncovered pieces here. There's a piece here you can see, it's blue. It comes in blue and it comes in red. The blue is cold water, the red is hot water. I forget the scientific name of PEX, polyethylene something or other. It is a specially designed sort of plastic material that has become the most common water line these days. And I think in the early days, the jury was out on this. Was it durable? Would it last? Well, as it turns out, it's extremely durable and has a lot of advantages over what they used to run hard piping for water lines like copper and things like that. So throughout the house, you will have water lines run overhead. And so the water comes into the house in a certain location. I'll walk over there now. It's coming in at the garage. So while this neighborhood didn't have city sewer, it does have city water. And so what we have is a water meter at the street. I did a video on this about how plumbing works. The water line runs up to the house, and then the only area we have a little bit of, let me turn the camera around here. This is where our water line comes up from the foundation into the wall. The water line was actually just coming through that little section of slab. So that's the only area there's actually water under pressure coming into the home, and otherwise the water line's out there in the ground and runs to the water meter. So the water is coming up here, we have a valve. We call this a customer shutoff. And so in the older days, so you've got your main shutoff, which is at your water meter. Half the people in the world don't even have a water meter tool to open that, don't know where their water meter's at. Code still has you doing what they call a customer shutoff, which is something that you can run right out and turn off. Forever, those were put out front in the ground with little boxes around them, and guess what? They would get covered over with dirt, with mulch. People would forget where they're even at. So years ago, we started putting them in the house where they are easily accessed by the homeowner. This will have a panel on it. If something happens and water needs to be shut off ASAP, you run out here, boom, you turn it off. Or actually, it's in the off position now. These valves, when they're in line with the pipe, they're on. When they're this way, they're off. It's down a little bit low because we split the water here because we are running 2 different hot water recirculating loops, which I'll talk about in a minute. But going back to just the water coming in, it is then dispersed throughout the house using that PEX piping. So interesting, I'm in the garage here, and laying right here, we pick them up, are pieces of PEX. So we've got the red one here for the hot water, the blue one for the cold water. So when this stuff came out, again, I can remember in the 90s, it started to get used. I think people were like, is this another product? Is it going to last? By the 2000s, it really caught on. And it's all the plumbers use in residential now that I'm familiar with. And there's good reason for it. This stuff, compared to using a hard pipe, as it turns out, is super durable. This red piece can handle very high temperatures, so you can be running hot water through it. It does not deform. And then the really nice thing I like about it is the water, or I should say, okay, so it can handle hot water without deforming. It can also deform a little or expand a little if it freezes. So one of the problems with hard piping like copper is if you have a freeze, ice naturally expands, right? And what it does is it expands enough that it busts the pipe. That's why pipes burst in the winter. That ice is causing so much pressure in there, it causes the pipe to basically split, and the water pressure then starts spraying water everywhere. The PEX piping can expand with the ice, so it does not bust like a copper pipe will. I remember the 2021 Snowmageddon thing. I had one neighborhood I built homes in that they had water wells. Their electric was off for a long time. I mean, worst case scenario, you can't even run your water. You can't do the dripping water thing. And I didn't have any customers. One had one issue, which was a leaking hose bib on an uninsulated wall in the garage after 5 days of 10-degree weather, whatever that was, with no power. So the stuff's amazing. It will hold up well. In other words, it can freeze, but without busting the pipe. It is run overhead, and I've had people say, well, gosh, if that line were to leak, then it leaks down into your living space and destroys things. Not wrong. However, if I've learned anything over all these years, is that every product, every installation has its pros and its cons. So with these concrete foundations, if you are running all of your water through the foundation, the concern there is that if you have some type of foundation issue, let's say the foundation shifts, breaks the pipe, now you have a slab leak. And that is a big deal and very expensive and never convenient. It's not like the line ends up breaking in the middle of a bedroom where all they have to do is get into the slab in an open space. No, what's likely going to happen is it's under a cabinet, it's behind a wall, some weird space where there's a lot of damage that has to be done. I even have a plumbing buddy that fixes slab leaks by going under the foundation, which is crazy to me. But it's a neat way to do it, but it's very expensive, as you would imagine. So in my opinion, the lesser of the two evils is to have all this water running overhead. I have honestly never seen an overhead PEX water line burst. About the only thing you could ever have an issue with is the connectors, and I haven't seen them leak either. So in my experience, it's a very durable product. It works very well. You just saw me holding up those lightweight pieces of pipe. It also just comes in these big rolls. And now if you're running water from this side of the house to 90 feet over that direction, almost like a piece of wire, they're just pulling that over there. They'll secure it to the wall where they need to with clamps, but it's super easy to work with. So unlike hard piping, they're not having to glue things together or weld things together. It's just pull a piece of this PEX, run it down to where you need it to be, and connect it. So that is the second part of the plumbing top-out phase, which is running these water lines, drains, water lines. Another thing that the plumbers will do is they will, in this phase, be setting any wall valves that we are going to have. A wall valve would be, think about your shower control. Maybe you've got one of those single shower handles, and the further you turn it to the left, the hotter the water gets. Behind that is a valve. They call them cartridges. It's basically the thing that is allowing the water to flow in, mixing the water between the hot and the cold when it's a single handle. You know, sometimes you have double handles in showers and things like that. But those go in the wall. It's really just the fixture, what we call the trim, the handle that goes on it later. And that's the third phase of plumbing, the trim phase. When they're coming in, they're actually putting in the faucets. They're putting in the toilets, you know, all that kind of stuff. None of that's happening now, although there is one thing that normally does get put in that's a fixture at this phase, and I'll talk about it. But back to the wall valves, we've got one right here. I'm in the primary shower, and so showers are a spot where the valves are going to have to be put in during this phase, during the top-out phase. Same as if you had any, you know, a lot of times we will be doing these more contemporary homes. We'll have floating cabinets. We'll have wall mount faucets. This house doesn't have that, but those will go in at this stage. So here we've got the valves in the wall. These will ultimately get, you know, this will get the handle on it here. What we've got is the main controller here. This is a diverter valve. So if you look above me, we've got a shower head there. Looks like just one shower head for now. I think this is supposed to be two. And so they'll have to run the other one. We've got a hand shower pipe here. So the hand showers are just those separate handhelds with the hose. And the diverter valve will allow them to turn between the shower heads, the hand shower. This doesn't have a rain head, but sometimes there'll be a rain head above. And so the diverter valves can determine which things are operating, basically. But for now, it's just the valves that go in. So they'll also be working on drains to a degree. And we've got the drain brought up here in the what will be the shower pan. And another thing to talk about when it comes to water lines is when we have either an island or, in this case, a freestanding tub that is kind of an island unto itself. How do you get water to that? We don't run it from the main water line all the way over here. What we do, and I'll show you right here, this is the primary vanity setup. So this is one of the sinks, one of the cabinets and sinks that will be here. What you see is the water line coming down. They do run copper off for where the valves will be. So these will be your valves underneath the sink to turn off and on your hot and cold water. Like I talked about a minute ago, your drain right here. But then below it, you see another couple valves with some more PEX that goes that direction. Well, what's happening is that's what's feeding the filler for the tub. So as I walk over here, now what's going on here is they originally ran it under the slab, but in the end, the homeowner wants to do a wall mount filler. So now that PEX piping is running over here. They'll just run it up the wall, set the filler valves in the wall, and it will be that spout that comes out over the tub, and the faucet will be on the wall itself. So for, you know, primary bathroom tub faucets, we call them fillers. So originally this was going to be one of those standalone, you know, stand on the ground fillers, tub fillers, and the homeowner wanted to save money. It is less expensive to do the wall fillers than those floor mount fillers. Some of those floor mount fillers can be as expensive as the tubs themselves. So that's basically the water line scenario. They come in, they run all these water lines. Now the other thing they do is they set the locations of where the hot water heater will be, or heaters in this case. We have 2 tankless water heaters, and the one thing we do with every home is we run recirculating hot water recirculating loops. So I'm going to go upstairs and show you how that works. Okay, I'm in that upstairs space that was originally going to just be a storage area. Now it's becoming a finished space. Matter of fact, I'll show you behind me here. This is the main room. It's just going to be like a media game room. We added a dormer back there with some windows that will be coming in for that. And then this house is going to have 2 tankless water heaters. I've said before, I've become a huge fan. First off, my favorite upgrade ever is a hot water recirculating system. When I first did that in one of the homes I built for myself, I don't know, 20 some odd years ago, I thought it was the greatest thing ever, and I kind of still do. You can get hot water at any tap in a few seconds. No more waiting for that hot water to show up. The reason we wait for hot water is simply because of distance. Wherever the water heater may be, if it's on one side of the home, your bathroom's on the other, and you call for hot water, it's got to push out all that room temperature water that's in the line until the hot water actually arrives. That's all that's happening. With hot water recirculating loops and systems, what we are doing is essentially keeping hot water recirculating in a loop with taps right down to the faucets that are pretty close. So now when you turn on a faucet, the loop may be just above, boom, hot water comes down to your faucet that you're calling for hot water on, and you get it within generally 2 to 3 seconds. It can take longer for kitchen islands because it comes down the wall, goes under the foundation, up, takes a little longer there, but the average bathroom, you get it really quick. How we do that, and it's not really put together yet. So down here, you can probably see we've got some PEX piping. What we're doing is we're gonna create a whole space here. They need to come in and frame in like a little piece of wood for a panel and everything, and we will set one of the tankless water heaters right there. We are actually doing 2 hot water recirculating loops in this house because there's going to be another tankless on the other side of this room. We're going to put some decking across the ceiling joist over there that will lead over to the other tankless hot water heater, and there will be another loop over there for the primary and the other bathroom that are on that side. This one will catch everything on this side. And so all that's happening is they've created that plumbing loop. The tankless water heaters are now smart systems, so they have a pump that knows to turn on the tankless and heat the water every so often and keep that recirculating water hot. Then again, when you call for it, it's there for you. The great thing about them is with technology, you've got apps to run these things. You can set your own programs with them. So hey, I know I'm going to bed at 10. I don't use any hot water after like 9 o'clock, and I'm up at, taking showers at 6. You can set the pumps to run when you want. Also now they're smart systems. So like everything else with AI and whatnot these days, it can learn what you do. So the system can say, well, hey, on this side of the home with this loop, the homeowner never uses hot water after 8 p.m., but they're taking showers by 6. It will start setting the timer so that the pumps run when you normally use hot water. Keep in mind, if a recirculating pump were not running, it doesn't mean you can't get hot water. You would just have to wait on it now because it wasn't just running around the loop. The water in the loop's cold if the pump's not running. And that can happen, if you woke up and for some reason had to take a shower at 3 in the morning and the system was off, you might wait a little while. But during the day or during your normal times it's running, you get it quick. So I think it's a great upgrade. And with tankless water heaters, again, I used to be a bigger fan of tanked water heaters because they were a lot less expensive and just they're dumb systems, but they work, right? They're just a reservoir of hot water. But tankless have come so far now that I think they are worth the money you spend on them, especially because the lifespan is twice as long or more than a tank unit. So even though you're paying a lot less for a tank, it's not going to last as long either, and you're going to have to deal with that, changing it, and sometimes they burst and they start leaking, things like that. The tankless are really good. They're rated 20-25 year lifespan. They are only heating water on demand, so they are more efficient. You may say with a recirculating system, aren't they heating more? They are. I mean, there's no two ways about it. But again, they know how much they need to heat to keep that water hot. It's not a crazy amount of money that's being spent to have a hot water recirculating pump. So those things, though, only heat on demand, but they heat on demand and they never run out. So if for some reason you like to take 2-hour showers, you can do it. You're not going to use up a 50-gallon water tank or 250. I've had houses where big homes, we had 3 50-gallon hot water tanks together. That takes up a lot of space. It's a little messy. These tankless, we can put them in attics, get them out of the way, and they work really well. The thing about attics, I've heard people say, I don't like the idea of water in the attic. I kind of agree with the tanked water heaters because, again, that thing I've seen where every once in a while they can kind of bust. Something happens and they're spewing some water. We don't really see that with the Tankless. They have a big catch basin underneath them that drains to a drain and everything. So I haven't seen any issues with that, and it's actually better when they're in the inside space, these foam encapsulated houses we're doing. Another thing with Snowmageddon is so many of these were mounted on the exterior of the houses, and when they lost power, they have anti-freeze circuits in them, but when everybody lost power, the tankless water heaters were ruined. And so there were a lot of people replacing tankless water heaters. So that's how the tankless and the hot water recirculating system loop works. Something I didn't mention that they do is they install things like water boxes. This is going to be a pantry that's going to have a refrigerator in it, and the homeowner wanted a water box for this for an ice maker. Same with things like the laundry room. The water boxes for the washer and dryer and everything are set up. And so that is the primary things that are being done during the plumbing top out. Another thing they do is set hall tubs, like secondary tubs that are 5-foot tubs, meant to go in just a normal bathroom, say your steel tub, something like that. They do not set the nice, freestanding tubs in the primary bathrooms and all that now. That's at the final phase. But because of the way hall bathtubs work, where the sheetrock has to come over the lip and everything, they have to go in now. We've got one of those in here, but it's not actually in because the homeowner's deciding what kind of tub they want to do. So when they pick that out, we will get that. The plumbers will come back out and install that tub. Another thing the plumbers do during the top out phase is they run gas lines if your house is getting gas or propane. This house is, but the gas has not been run. It has not been run for a reason. We usually are coming back with the crew that runs the gas lines when certain things that are not here yet do get put in. So both of the fireplaces in this house, there's one in the living room and one on the back patio, the homeowner was making decisions on what fireplace they want, and so we don't have those in. We don't have the HVAC furnaces in, so the furnaces will go up in the attic, and they will be gas furnaces. So what we want to do is wait until those components are in for then the gas line crew to come back and run the lines. Gas lines are hard piped. So they are steel lines that they have to come out here and cut and put together, and they need to know exactly what locations they're going to. There are some locations where they will just stub them because the things like a gas range for the kitchen won't be in. We're going to have an outdoor kitchen back here that isn't in yet, so they'll just put stub outs there. But we want to run all the gas lines to where they need to go. We're going to have the natural gas meter at the front corner of the house. So the main stub out, I call it, basically the supply line in, will be over in that corner, and it will disperse everywhere where there's going to be a gas location. We call them gas drops in the house. Same with going to the tankless water heaters and all that. So they'll come back in, run the gas lines here soon when we've got some of these other things in. This phase is called the mechanical phase, and you really have 3 contractors that come in and do work in the house at this phase. You've got your plumbers that we send in first because we want them to have all their drains made up and everything, because after then we will send the HVAC company in. They'll set the air handler units, run all the ducting, air conditioner units, do condensate, so they have drain lines that they will run PVC that will tie into one of the existing drains, like in a bathroom or laundry room. So we want the plumbers to have all their drains made up so they know where to run their stuff. Then last, we send in the electricians. The electricians can come in, they're running all their lighting and wiring, but they're also running wires to where the air handlers are, to where the fireplaces are. So we want them to be last in the process so they can run their wiring to all these various things that are going in prior to them getting into the house. So there are really 3 mechanical contractors: plumber, HVAC company, electrician. When you're in the commercial world, there are some companies that do all 3, but in the residential world, generally, each one is its own company. We have a separate plumber, separate electrician, separate HVAC company. So that's the phase we're in right now. So after the few things left for these plumbers to finish, the HVAC company will be coming in. I'll do another video kind of documenting that when they're putting in the rough HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Okay, lastly, if you are somebody that is building a house, heck, if you are a builder watching this and you're trying to get better at what you do, I always try to have cabinet designs finished before we send in the mechanical contractors. Mainly the plumbers and the electricians are the ones that this affects. How does it affect them? Well, floor plans are drawn with certain setups. For example, I'm walking into a bedroom here where behind me you can see the drains, the water for what's going to be a vanity, basically a cabinet with a countertop with a sink in it. The floor plan architect drew the sink dead center. And in the end, we walked this with the homeowner before we did all this plumbing top out. That is something we want to be very careful about because we want to know where they want locations for controls of the showers and all those kind of things. But the cabinets are the other thing. So normally, when I have a cabinet design, it's going to be stapled to the walls of all the areas that get the plumbing so that the plumbers know that what's on the plan hasn't changed or if it has changed. I bring up this example of a fairly long vanity with a sink in the center because I've had plenty of people decide, let's push the sink to the side. The reason they do that is, hey, it allows me to have a much bigger bank of drawers over here. And I get it, no problem with that, right? Except if you sent your plumbers in first, they might have set all the plumbing up to be centered because that's what the sink was shown on the plan. Now we've got a problem because, you know, you've got your down here with the plumbing, and so you've got your cabinet partitions and stuff. Well, if the sink's over here, all this stuff needs to be over here, right? So we did make sure with the homeowner, because we didn't have cabinet drawings, because this is a unique one. He's from a different state and he loves the factory built pre-finished cabinets. So instead of using our local cabinet shop that does all of our CAD drawings for us, he's working directly with that other cabinet company. They don't have all the drawings for us yet. So we made sure to be very careful about the plumbing before we started, because I have had houses where there's 2 or 3 locations where when they got in there for cabinet design, they did all kinds of stuff that was different than what the plumbers did. The plumbers did what the plan showed, but the homeowners decided to do some different things with their cabinets, especially when you get into things like floating cabinets and you're trying to have valves at a certain location so you can't see them and all that kind of stuff. So if you're building a house or if you're a builder out there, get your cabinet plans designed first, your drawings first, and then have that information for your plumbers and your electricians. Electricians can be another one. Centered sink here. Well, maybe they're putting an outlet over here in the backsplash, but what if the customer had moved the sink over and now the outlet's right behind the sink? You know, not ideal. Stuff like that. So we've had plenty of times, you know, same with kitchens, people do different things, and if you send the electricians in first, they've got all the backsplash outlets in, and now meanwhile somebody's gone and put like a cabinet there or something that just, gets in the way of the outlet. So talking about all this plumbing, and the plumbers are pulling up, I guess that tells me I can end this video now. So I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you learned something about plumbing top out, the 3 phases of plumbing. This is phase number 2. And I'll come back, shoot a little more when this is 100% complete with the tankless loops in, the gas in, and all that. But for now, I appreciate you guys watching. See you in the next one.